So, a lot of you guys have been asking me to do more hard questions. So today that's exactly what I'm going to do for you. I will be doing a mixed review of tons of different types of questions in both the English and math sections. Make sure to use the timestamps if you're looking for something specific. I just want to remind you that in order to get the most out of this video, you need to try these questions on your own first. Pause the video and try them on your own before you watch my explanation. If you want to download a free PDF of all the problems that I'm working on, just go ahead and use the link in the description. Alright, this one's going to be words in context. I'm going to read through. As an undergraduate researcher, Jennifer contributed to a study challenging the accepted view that among prehistoric peoples, female participation in hunting was blank. The research team's review of data from these eras and early burials in the Americas revealed that, in fact, as many as half of the hunters in those populations were female. Okay, so half of them being female should contradict what we're challenging because we have, in fact. I'm going to say something like, female participation was lacking. If half of the hunters were female, lacking would be the opposite of what we're looking for. Let's go through the options. Inevitable? Nope. Satisfactory? No, that means enough, which doesn't fit. Negligible? Yes, that works. Negligible means such a small amount that it doesn't even matter. That's the answer. If you're confident, choose your answer and move on. If you're not 100% confident, make sure to eliminate 3 answers first. Command of evidence. Rejecting the premise that literary magazines Ebony and Topaz should present a unified vision of Black American identity, Johnson fostered his contributors' diverse perspectives by promoting their authorial autonomy. Johnson's self-effacement diverged from the editorial stances of these other figures, whose decisions for their publications were more blank. Since it says Johnson's self-effacement diverged, we know his approach is different. Self-effacement means not trying to take credit or draw attention to yourself. The sentence also says he promoted diverse perspectives, so the opposite of that could be something self-centered or singular in vision. Let's check the options. Proficient. Definitely not. That means effective, not self-centered or singular. Dogmatic. Yes, that works. Dogmatic means sticking to a set of beliefs or rules, often in a rigid, one-sided way. Ambiguous. No, ambiguous means unclear. Unpretentious. Doesn't fit either. That's more about being humble. So, the answer is dogmatic. Next, we have a structure and purpose question. Years ago, this American savant was in London. At an evening party, he observed a certain coxcomical fellow adorned with an absurd ribbon in his lapel, full of smart banter and whisking about to the admiration of many. Great was the savant's disdain. Yet, chancing upon the man in conversation, he was surprised by his good sense. Altogether thrown back, he later discovered the man was Sir Humphry Davy, a prominent British chemist and inventor. Let's summarize. The savant thought the man was foolish and conceited, but was surprised to learn he was actually a famous and intelligent individual. The main purpose is to present an account of a misunderstanding. Answer. B. Presents an account of a misunderstanding. Next passage. Studying late 19th and early 20th century artifacts from an agricultural and domestic site in Texas, an archaeologist found that Black women employed as farm workers utilized hook and eye closures to fasten their clothes at the waist, giving themselves a silhouette similar to contemporary fashion, typically achieved through restrictive garments like corsets. The archaeologist argues that this sartorial practice shows how these women balanced hegemonic ideals of femininity with the requirements of their physically demanding occupation. Simplified, Black female farm workers adapted their clothing to maintain femininity while working hard. Purpose. To summarize the findings of a study about a specific fashion practice. Answer. D. Summarizes the findings of a study that explored factors influencing a fashion practice among Black female farm workers. Going to be a detail question anytime we see something like, what does the text most strongly suggest? And then something specific. So, I'm going to be looking for the use of this thing's performance space specifically as I read through this because it's not about a main idea. It's more about the performance space. The most recent iteration of this immersive experience transforms its performance space, a 5-story warehouse, into a 1930s-era hotel. Audience members, who wander through the labyrinthine venue at their own pace and follow the actors as they play out simultaneous, interweaving narrative loops, confront the impossibility of experiencing the production in its entirety. For the performance space, we're basically getting a play taking place all over the warehouse. Just putting things into my own words, the play's refusal of narrative coherence hinges on the sense of spatial fragmentation that the venue's immense and intricate layout generates. So, what does it suggest? I guess it suggests that the performance space is part of the play itself. Let's eliminate. The choice of this venue likely enabled the play creators to experiment with the use of space in a way that differs from earlier productions. Big red flag. There's no mention of earlier productions in the text. Easy no. Audience members likely find the experience disappointing. No evidence to support this, so no. The production's dependence on a particular environment would likely make it difficult to reproduce exactly in a different space. Yes, if the performance space is part of the play itself, this makes sense. Audience members who navigate the space through a recommended itinerary will likely have a better grasp of the narrative than audience members who depart from the itinerary. There's no mention of an itinerary in the text, so that's out. Answer: C. Next question. Let's complete the text. We're supporting the conclusion. REM sleep may not be homeostatically regulated in fur seals, citing as evidence that, if we're completing the text, we need evidence to support that conclusion. I have no idea what homeostatically regulated means, so let's look for it. The first sentence says, homeostatically regulated animals compensate for periods of REM sleep deprivation by increasing subsequent REM sleep. In my own words, they make up for lost REM sleep later. So now, as I go through the answers, I want to support the idea that fur seals don't do this. They're not regulated, meaning they don't make up for lost REM sleep. The seals in the study didn't show significantly less REM sleep during the second day after returning to land than they did the first day. This compares 2 days on land, which doesn't help. Out. The seals showed no significant differences from one another in baseline levels of REM sleep. This doesn't mention water versus land, so it's irrelevant. Out. The seals didn't consistently demonstrate a significant increase in REM sleep after their period of deprivation in the water. This directly supports the conclusion that REM sleep is not regulated. Looks strong. The seals showed no significant difference between REM sleep after returning to land and REM sleep while in the water. This doesn't emphasize the lack of compensation for lost REM sleep, so it's weaker than C. Answer: C. Inference question. Young and colleagues recommend a new space telescope dedicated exclusively to solar system observations. This would permit an extensive survey of minor solar system bodies and long-term UV observations to discern changes over time. So the recommendation implies that the HST, Hubble Space Telescope, can focus on objects outside the solar system, while the new telescope handles solar system observations. HST will likely continue to be used primarily to observe objects outside the solar system. Matches perfectly. The other choices either introduce irrelevant details or contradict the premise. Answer: A. Artisans and merchants reduced their tax burdens by minimizing the number of doors and windows in their buildings. However, French citizens with significant foreign investments often lacked voting rights, which helps clarify why choice A seems like the best answer. That turned out to be simpler than expected. Now, looking at the cross-text connections, we usually see one text responding to another. But in this case, the question asks what the two texts are most likely to agree on. To address this, I'll first read through both texts and identify their main ideas to find common ground. In the first text, the author disputes the claim that The Two Noble Kinsmen, TNK, was co-authored by Shakespeare and Fletcher. They argue that Fletcher's contributions are apparent due to his distinct writing style, which is evident in other plays. Additionally, the lines not attributed to Fletcher are suggested to have been written by Philip Massinger, rather than Shakespeare. The second text presents a scholarly consensus since the 1970s that TNK was indeed co-authored by Shakespeare and Fletcher. Most agree Shakespeare wrote the first act and most of the final act, while Fletcher authored most of the 3 middle acts. Both texts agree that Fletcher contributed to TNK. This shared point leads to the prediction that they would agree Fletcher's writing has a distinct and identifiable style. Looking at the answer choices. A. John Fletcher's writing has a unique, readily identifiable style. This aligns with both texts, so this is likely correct. B. References to Massinger are specific to the first text only, so this doesn't work. C. Suggesting TNK belongs in a collection excluding Fletcher contradicts both texts. D. Again, references to Massinger are not in both texts. Thus, A is the best choice. For grammar, punctuation, and structure questions. 1. Analyzing sentences for independent clauses ensures proper punctuation. For example, the researcher developed a process for increasing the tensile strength of silkworm silk. This clause can stand alone. Following this with dissolving and reweaving the silk in a solution increased its tensile strength, forms another independent clause. So, separating these with a period, choice D, is correct. 2. Questions about modifiers rely on matching the subject of the sentence to the modifying clause. 4. These crusts fortify soil and aid ecosystems. These crusts matches the subject as they can perform the described action, making C the best option. 3. Transition words depend on contextual relationships. In a debate between dispersalists and vicariant theorists, the explanation provided fits a clarifying transition like, that is, leading to choice D. For math. 1. When dealing with linear equations. Use y equals mx plus by equals mx plus b, where is the slope, and bb is the y-intercept. Given b equals minus 6b equals minus 6 and 2 points, tube 2, 2, 2, calculate m equals 4m equals 4. Substitute x equals 20x equals 20 into y equals 4x minus 6y equals 4x, 6 to find y equals 74, y equals 74. 2. For temperature changes in Fahrenheit corresponding to Kelvin. The slope, 1.8, shows the proportional relationship between Kelvin and Fahrenheit changes. 4 delta K equals 9.10 backslash delta K equals 9.10. Delta F equals 1.8 times 9.10 equals 16.38 backslash delta F equals 1.8 backslash times 9.10 is equal to 16.38. The increase in Fahrenheit is 16.38 degrees Fahrenheit. In conclusion, each question type focuses on identifying relationships, structure, or patterns to reach the correct answer. First, we're given the slope, and by expanding the equation, we get f(x) equals 95x minus 95 times 27315 plus 32f x equals 95x, 95 backslash times 27,315 plus 32. The y-intercept doesn't matter much because it's just the starting point. We're interested in the slope, which is 95 backslash frac 95. So to find the answer, we multiply 95 times 9.10 backslash frac 95 backslash times 9.10, resulting in 16.38, which matches choice A. The question involves linear equations, and we're trying to match the equation to the scenario, identifying both the y-intercept and the slope. Next, for the gasoline example, the slope should be 425 backslash frac 425, since gas costs $4 per gallon, and the car goes 25 miles per gallon. From there, we can eliminate choices A and B. We're asked how many miles reduce the weekly expenditure by $5, so we use m equals 5m equals 5, which matches choice D. In the geometry problem, we're working with a right cylindrical container. The volume formula is the area of the circle times the height, which is pi r2 times r plus 4 backslash pi r squared backslash times r plus 4, since the height is 4 inches more than the radius. When distributed, we get r3 plus 4 r2 r caret 3 plus 4 r squared, which corresponds to choice D. Then, in the system of equations problem involving ticket sales, We have two types of tickets with prices of $12 and $8, and the total number of tickets is 30. Using substitution or elimination, we find that there are 15 adult tickets, and since each adult ticket costs $12, the total amount spent on adult tickets is $150, leading to a final total of $180. Next, we look at a system of equations with square roots. By solving using Desmos, we find the intersection at 1.732, which matches the correct answer, choice A. In the quadratic equation problem, we're given the factored form and need to determine the x-coordinate of the vertex. Since the x-intercepts are -3 and -1, the average is -2, so the x-coordinate of the vertex is -2, which matches choice B. For the revenue problem, the unit price AA represents the price where revenue equals 0, which matches choice C. Finally, in the measures of central tendency problem, we're given a dataset with a mean and median of 33. After modifying the dataset by adding or subtracting 7 to each number above or below the median, the mean and median remain the same, confirming the consistency of the measures. It looks like you're working through a variety of math problems and explanations here, primarily involving concepts like linear equations, volume, probability, percentages, and statistics. Your approach, using tools like Desmos for verification, is a great strategy for quickly solving and cross-checking answers.